Okay guys, I'm Tom Koo from the Tom Koo Live channel. Today I have Gary from, what was the company?
Terra Virtua.
It's a little bit difficult to pronounce. It's Terra Virtua. So what is the meaning of Terra Virtua?
Literally translated, it means virtual world.
Okay, it's so...
Virtual Earth.
It's so obvious. All right. So, I mean, my audience are very similar to me, okay? I mean, we talk a little bit, but it doesn't mean that I have a clear idea or understanding of what you're doing, right? Sure. Or what kind of problems you want to solve, right? So it's the same, you know, they're very kind of, you know, innocent, you know, they want to get to know you and your project. So just in layman terms, can you explain very briefly, very clearly what the project is about? What kind of problems you're solving?
Sure. Well, we're a virtual reality-based 3D world that delivers entertainment in all its forms on a global basis. We found that the VR industry is quite fragmented. If you want to play a VR game or download a VR game, you've got to go to Steam or you've got to go to the Oculus store. It's quite fragmented. The way it's presented is normal web-type menus. What we believed is you need an ecosystem that complements the technology and the platform. So you need a system that exists in virtual reality. So we built a virtual reality world, and you walk around, you navigate to social area, you can see your friends, you can talk to your friends, and then you can explore the content, which is primarily games, but will ultimately include concerts, pop concerts, sports events, esports, movies, all in VR. So you don't leave the environment. If you want to play a game, you go through a gateway and you're there in the game. If you want to watch a sport, you go through the gateway, you're there in the sport. You don't have to remove your headset and reload anything. It's all there.
Oh, I see. But I mean, that means that, you know, all these game companies, right, or concerts, I mean, they must be connected to your platform.
They will be. I mean, we're not launched yet. We're looking at launching next year. So at the moment, we're establishing partnerships. But there are many companies who are filming concerts and sports events in VR. In fact, the BBC were showing the World Cup in VR. But of course, they didn't have a real good platform to deliver it. So it wasn't used widely. So we're hopefully addressing that gap in the market. It's all blockchain based. So we're having a generic currency for all of this. So if you want to watch a sports event, you pay per view. If you want to play a game, we're presenting the games. We're going to have a large portfolio of VR games, and they will be accessed via a Netflix type subscription. So you pay a small monthly subscription and have access to the entire portfolio, unlimited access to the entire portfolio. If you purchase or earn currency in one game, you can then spend that currency in another game. It's all based on our token.
I mean, you know, this is like a portal, right? Like a VR portal that connects to all the VR products out there.
Yeah, well, we're hosting them ourselves. We're, if you like, a distribution platform more than a portal. So we give you access to all of these great content in the one place.
Well, why would, you know, these VR game companies, you know, actually join this effort and also get paid by your tokens?
Because they're very, very receptive to what we're doing. We're comprised of a team with great experience and knowledge and a great network in the video games industry. We know pretty much everyone, and we've been talking to them about it. They see this as incremental revenue in addition to the traditional platforms, so they've been very, very receptive to using us to host their games.
Okay, and is that proven in some form?
Not well. Proven in the regard that they have pledged the games to us. I mean, Epic Games have already given us Robo Recall, which is one of the big existing VR games. Problem with VR games really is there hasn't been one killer app yet. When you look traditionally at games platforms, you've had PlayStation, which launched with Tomb Raider, you've had Xbox, which launched with Halo, Nintendo has Mario and Zelda, and VR hasn't had that one product where people look at it and say, I want to get VR because I want to play that game. So we've been looking for those real killer apps, and we think we've discovered one or two that are just in development that will really help drive the market for VR.
How big is the VR market, game market, compared to the overall market?
It's very, very small at the moment, although the projections, the forecasts are saying that within 2 years we're looking at about 200 million VR users, headsets, in the next generation. The first generation of VR was a little bit clunky. There were heavy rigs, wires, tethered, they needed a lot of power, you needed a laptop, and they were expensive and a little underpowered. The next generation is now coming through. You've got wireless, so you've got a lot more freedom to move around. Lighter, smaller headsets, but they're powerful enough and, most importantly, a lot cheaper.
I mean, there must be a reason why people are not switching, from original, more traditional games to VR, right? I mean, we can think about the cost and also the clunkiness, right?
But it's down to the killer app. There is no great content yet, and what we want to do is bring all the great content together into one delivery platform, which will hopefully compel people to evaluate VR a lot more seriously and say, yes, I want to get into Terra Virtua, I want to interact with my friends, I want to go with my friends in this environment, and we can go off and play a game together, a multiplayer game or an escape room game, or we can watch the ball game together and make it more of a social experience, because VR, once you put that headset on, you're isolated, you're by yourself, and we wanted to change that whole concept. So we're making it very sociable and community-driven environment.
Okay, but why do you need a blockchain for that?
Well, the blockchain is basically for the currency. Well, two reasons really. We're also creating a tool to allow people, anyone, to make their own VR experiences and games. And then...
well, you don't need a blockchain for that.
No, but if someone creates something, they need... there is an issue of IP and ownership, right? So what happens is if they create something, we register their ownership of that creation on our blockchain, so that any revenues that are subsequently derived from that creation, they will be paid directly. You can't do that in the real world. There's no tracking system for that. So the blockchain enables the creator. It democratizes creativity.
All right, so it's like an IP or royalty management system.
Yes, exactly.
But the thing is that, royalty can be contentious, at times, right? Because, the guys will be claiming that, I was first, he was first. That's the reason why you have these complicated IP rules.
That's right.
But the blockchain is immutable.
That's right. So you can, once you're on there, no one can challenge or contest your ownership of that. You've created it, and it's, as you say, it's immutable. It's there on the blockchain, and no one can challenge that.
Well, once, for instance, I am the creator actually.
Okay.
I didn't know about your platform.
No.
You just was kind of my partner, and then you put it on as your idea. How are you going to resolve that? I'm going to, sue you outside the blockchain. And there's probability I'm going to win, for instance. In that case, you have to change it.
You'd have to prove it. Well, yeah, I mean, those hypothetical situations might occur. But when you join Terra Virtua and you make a creation, there will be smart contracts, and you have to actually pledge that you are the creator of this. You can't just put it on there. By putting your creation on our platform, you are validating that by saying, I am the creator.
Right, but still, it's not going to resolve the thing that happens outside the blockchain.
It's possible, yeah. But
I won,
Yeah.
In my IP case, in that case,
yes.
I'm going to order you get rid of it, but it's immutable. You cannot.
No, well, I don't know. It's hypothetical.
Yeah, you have to think about it. That's what I'm saying. It's not only you. It's. I mean, there are a lot of royalty systems.
But it happens in the real world as well, as you say, and we just got to deal with that as it happens. It's a good hypothetical point, but we're not exposed because we are saying to you, if you're putting your creation on our system, then you are warranting that you are the owner and creator of this. So you are putting your name to that, and we are having to take that on trust.
Because honestly, what can happen is actually the regulator gets involved. It might say, blockchain, whatever's on it, ignore it. It could happen because there's conflict, and it
Could
proved
do,
that
yeah.
one or two cases
I mean,
they went outside the world, and then in the case they were like, okay, this is really confusing the market, so our system, so get rid of it, don't trust the blockchain. I mean, that could happen, right?
Anything could happen, yeah. I mean, it's not been tested yet, but you have to work with some goodwill, and we have to take the word of people when they say they've created it, that they have created it. If they haven't, then they've got to contest that, and they've got to prove that they did if it's contested.
Okay, so what about your development stage? You said they're creating this virtual reality marketplace. All right. I mean, how much progress have you made? Technologically.
It's been in development for 18 months now. We have a working prototype. We have a demo that we've been showing around the world. We are working with Epic Games, who create the Unreal Engine, and we're just now porting the prototype into the Unreal Engine. We have a companion augmented reality app that gives you access to Terra Virtua via your phone, so you can have a look at the content, browse trailers, arrange to meet up with your friends at a certain time, and that will be launched in 2 months, and you'll be allowed to customize your avatar and make it unique, and then we're launching the platform itself in Q1 next year.
Okay, so back to the blockchain, because this is blockchain, right?
That's why we're here, yeah.
Yeah. So how's the token used?
The token is used well, in a number of ways. There's B2B, B2C, and C2C transactions. We will be renting portals for marketing reasons. So if, for instance, a car manufacturer is launching a new model of car and they want to promote it, they can rent a portal for a few months, build a racetrack, and allow you to test drive their new car. And they pay a rental fee in tokens for that portal, and we'll have a limited number of those. We'll have a limited number of portals that we will sell to large brands who might, for instance, want to create a virtual theme park and build a virtual for it. Anything that is chargeable within the Terra Virtua environment uses our tokens, the TVA, the Terra token. So the whole economy, the backbone of our entire economy, is the TVA token.
Okay, and how about content creators? Are they paid?
Absolutely. Well, if people play their game, but not just those games or the creations themselves, but we are going to be encouraging marketplaces, so that if you want to make a racing game, for instance, using our tool, and you've got a great idea how to design the game, but you're not very good at creating maybe cars, then I'm a great artist and I can make 3D cars. I can put those cars into the marketplace, so you can buy them or rent them to use in your game. And so we want to create a great community of creators and great creative minds to produce compelling and unique content, and a marketplace that enables people to pool their resources and create something pretty cool.
I mean, is it only game oriented, or for instance, medical area also needs, there's a high demand for virtual reality technologies, right? I mean, are they also your target market, or?
No, I mean, we've got to focus. We've got to really, because the virtual VR potential and mixed reality potential is enormous, but we can't scattergun. We have to be very, very focused, and also the background of the team is grounded in entertainment. It's what we know best, and it's where our contacts are. So we're going to certainly start off with entertainment. Where it goes from there over the coming years, who knows? But we're making a social environment, we're making an entertainment environment, and that's what we want to sort of focus on, certainly initially.
Okay, and another thing is, your profit. So these portal, if they want to get a portal, is that your main profit driver?
No, we're doing the pay-per-view on the events, so if people want to watch concerts or watch sports events, there will be a pay-per-view element to that, and of course that's payable in the token. But as I say, there are a number of transactions.
What is a pay-per-view?
Well,
pay-per-view.
Pay-per-view. Yes, not paper. Pay-per-view. Okay. Yes. So
every time somebody views, then you get a small portion out of it.
Yes. So we take a small cut of any revenue transaction. So the marketplace as well. We also believe that there'll be a lot of interest in the customization of avatars. I mean, digital assets are a big market.
Avatars or VR, objects, I mean, if somebody creates it and put it on the market and somebody buys it, in that case, you get a share out of it?
Yes. Any transaction, we take a small percentage because we are building the marketplace for them. The creation tool will be free. And actually, access to Terra Virtua is free. You can walk around, you don't have to pay a cent. It's only when you decide you want to consume content or engage in some sort of transaction that you need to pay, but you don't have to. So you can experience the social side completely free of charge.
Yeah, but anyway, I have to go back to the royalty because I have some skepticism about putting royalty on blockchain. One other reason is because this intellectual property assessment process is very complicated, and the reason we have dedicated expert there's a reason for it. Because it's not very easy. There are some certain many rules that you have to abide by. But if you give that kind of reviewing power to actually the content creator, I mean, this just doesn't make sense to me.
It's not a royalty. What will happen is, let's say you use our tool to make a game and you put it on Terra Virtua. You can charge whatever you like for users to play that game, and whatever you charge, let's say it's $5 for users to download and play your game. You get that $5 less our cut. We take a small percentage, but it's not a royalty. You decide the price you want to sell your game for, and that's what you get.
So it's not a royalty management program?
It's not a royalty management
program.
Okay,
because I thought you mentioned it at the beginning.
The royalty management program, not so much. There is a nice way we are actually handling that. So let's say, let's take the example before. Let's say I buy a sword in a game that someone's created, right? And I buy a sword from them that I can use in the game. I can then resell that sword to another user.
Yeah.
Okay? But you as the creator, the original creator of that sword, you will get a percentage of whatever I sell that for. So unlike in the real world, if you buy a book in the real world, and then you finish the book, you give it to me, or you sell it to me for $5, the author gets nothing at all. And that's not really fair. Whereby in this world, the author, in this case the creator, will always get a percentage of whatever their asset is resold for.
Technologically, how does it work? So let's assume that there are three people. Okay, one is the creator, one is the buyer, one is the second buyer.
Okay.
Okay, how does it work technologically?
Okay, so it's driven by smart contracts. I mean, I'm not the most technical person in the world, so I can't drill down too much. But at high level, so you're the creator, you create it, you want to sell it to me, I'm the buyer for $5, so I buy it. So that is just a transaction between you and I buy it for $5, you get the $5 less your small percentage that goes to Terra Virtua. Okay, I'm using the asset, I decide I'm finished with it, I want to resell it, so I decide I'm going to sell it for $2 to someone else.
Okay.
So within the smart contract, it's logged that you are the creator. So whenever that asset is resold, automatically a percentage of that transaction will go to you, the creator.
Okay, so all that information is on the smart contract, right?
Yes.
It's not externally stored, right?
No.
Okay. So it's like tokenizing the contents.
Exactly.
Is there any other usage for the blockchain?
No, it's basically IP and the crypto. And indeed, we may find other uses as we go, but those are the two main focuses we have.
All right, so I think that the success of your model actually largely relies on the virtual reality, success.
Yes, and the forecasts are very, very bullish. I mean, the improvements, when we look at, I go back to when phones were these huge brick things with the enormous batteries, and then 10 years later we now have these things, and it's changed enormously. The VR headsets, the same way, they're evolving at a much faster rate. They get it, the form factor is improving, the technology is improving, so within 5 years it'll be a lot more palatable and accessible. But in the meantime, the early adopters will graduate to it, depending on the quality of the content. It's all down to the content.
I know, I totally agree, but when do you see that, virtual reality-based games will become like, more dominant than, the traditional, 2D games? Or 3D?
It's really hard to say. I mean, I've been in video games for a long time, and then, from the PC days, then Nintendo brought out this thing called a console, and it was cartridge-based. And a lot of people said, it's too expensive. You've been buying a PC game for $10, and now they're $30. People aren't going to pay $30 for a game. It's too expensive. But of course, console just ended up dominating the market. The same with phones. Smartphones came out. They released games. People said, well, you've got no joystick. You can't play games on phones. It doesn't work with a touch screen. But of course, the smart developers adapted game design to suit the hardware, and that's when it changed. That's when the whole thing changed. That's going to happen with VR.